Hey R12, how's everything going? Really pumped for today's verse, looking at Romans chapter 12. And today we're in verse number 19. We're nearing the end of chapter 12. I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to figure something out after we hit verse 21. Like every day, simple prayer. God, if you have something to say, we're listening. He has a lot to say in this verse. Let me read it real quick. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it's written, it is mine to avenge. I will repay, says the Lord. He's an avenger. I love that, by the way. My kid loves that too. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it's written, it's mine to avenge. I will repay, says the Lord. All right, here's the thing. Have you ever seen a wrong that you wanted to do something about? Maybe you saw somebody wrong publicly. Maybe you were walking down the road. You saw something happen to a girl or some other stranger or a homeless person, whatever, and you wanted to intervene. I've had that moment. When I was 17 years old, I think 17 or 18, I was walking out of Blockbuster Video, that tells you how old I am, and I had a copy of Back to the Future trilogy. I was on the phone with my girlfriend at the time. Her name was Molly. She was great. And I said, oh my gosh, got Back to the Future. I can't wait to watch it tonight. You're watching it with me. And she was excited. And as I'm turning and kind of looking this way, there was a guy and a girl arguing, and he pulls his hand back and slaps this girl across the face. Now, I was a wrestler in high school, and I was taught by my mom that we don't hit girls. And this guy must have forgotten that, and I felt it was important for me to go over there and remind him, and I did in a very physical way. I had no problem bringing the wrath. Most of you would probably do the exact same thing. We don't live in a society where we watch women get beat up in public, and they shouldn't be beat up in private either, by the way. So you would intervene. You would do something. Now, here's the thing Paul was speaking to. People felt like during this time, the ones who were followers of Jesus, felt like if people were doing wrong, if people weren't following, if people weren't kind of getting with the biblical program, that they should do something about it. They should take action, and it should be aggressive action, because Rome was a very aggressive place. So it wouldn't be abnormal for groups of Christians, and I know I'm going to say this and people are going to be like, wait, what? Groups of Christians to get together and go physically enforce what they believe to be true if someone was kind of living outside the lines. Imagine if you made like a mistake, you're living outside the lines, and your small group comes over, or your chapter comes over, and you get maybe a freshman, new freshman girls group or sophomore girls group, and your chapter comes over, and then they just beat you up with clubs. Like, could you imagine like a little like ninth grade girl like, you shouldn't have done that? That would be hilarious and gruesome and sad, actually. But that was happening all the time. So Paul was speaking to a group saying, hey, listen. I know a lot of you feel wronged, and I know the culture is when you're wronged, you need to do something about it, and you would take wrath. But here's the thing. The action of wrath, that actually belongs to the Lord. Your role, and remember, this is all under like the heading of love in action. So people thought the most loving thing was to enforce like these rules and the ways to live, like to enforce these things like physically. Don't take revenge, my dear friends. So friends, don't take revenge on each other. Don't take action on each other. But leave room for God's wrath. So let God do his thing. Let him figure out the wrath, the punishment, the consequence. Like when someone's outside the lines, let him be the one to kind of figure that out. For it's written, it is mine to avenge. Okay? So what Paul is saying is, when that wrong happened, while you take that as a wrong against you, because you love God and you love the church, and like you're passionate about this church thing that we're starting here in Rome, it's not yours to avenge. That thing was done. It was done against me, against God. I'm not God, obviously. It was done against God. It's not yours to avenge. God will avenge. He will take on. He will do the wrath. It is his. He's the one who says it's his. And it was hard for them to understand that. Here's the thing. People mess up all the time. People will make mistakes. They'll screw up. We have a code of conduct policy, with R12. A lot of you have signed it. People will break that. They will mess up. And there will be a little piece of us that says, oh my gosh, this is great. They messed up, and here is my chance to enforce, to be the rule, to show, to get whatever. I like grace. I like loving each other. and letting the wrath, the consequence, which there are consequences for things, I get that. I like letting God handle a lot of that. When people mess up, screw up, and I've screwed up, I've messed up, I've been that person, I've made massive mistakes. Thank goodness my friends, my peers, the people who led me showed me grace instead of showing me the door, showed me grace instead of showing me the list of all the things I screwed up on how I can't get anything right. Thank goodness that we are not the ones left in charge, that God is in charge. He is sovereign. He is king for a reason. Think about that today. Think about how is your posture when you go into aggressive situations like that? Is our first jump to jump to holding someone to a standard, and if they didn't, they're in trouble, and oh my God, they're going to get it? Or is the first move to, you know what, everyone screws up. Here's grace, here's understanding. Let me enforce the parts of God's kingdom that I really understand, which is, humility and acceptance and love and tolerance and like, hey, you're in this and I forgive you and let's figure it out together. I hope that's our posture. I hope that's what we're doing. That doesn't always happen. We're not always great at it. But I think together we can learn to get really good at it. Like really good, like maybe better than anyone. And if anyone's going to be really good at that, I think it should be Christians. I think we should be the best at that. So I hope you had a really great time today. I hope starting the day off in God's Word's always a good thing. Love you, R12. Praying for you. Have a really great day.